first. All right, first up, take the valve cover off. So 5 or 6 bolts on the valve cover here, 10s. Pop your 12s off for the exhaust manifold. Let's try to hit that jump out. Next, we're gonna take the distributor off, which is 3 12s over here. Got one up here, one right here, and the other one back behind underneath down there. Driver's side, you're gonna need to take this timing cover off. You've got a couple 10 millimeters, one here. Take your dipstick out. There's one right there underneath. Next, we're going to take the cam caps off, which is, I think, these 12 millimeters, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. It's loose. You want to keep them in here. Don't pull them out because you don't want this to separate from the valve train. Next, we're going to take the 2 10s out of the distributor holder over here, along with the 2 10s on the cam cap over here, and then the whole valve train should be ready to come off. Alright, so once you've got everything loose, the goal here is to get the whole valve train off without losing any pieces. So you gotta wiggle the entire valve train back and forth a couple times, and then it should pull off as is. Put it to the side. In this case, put it on the concrete. Don't do that. Put it on the box like a good technician would. Alright, so now we got the valve train off. Next step is to get the actual cam out of here. But before we take the cam out, we want to mark our timing. So a good way to do that is you can take a Sharpie and you can make a mark on the belt and the actual cam gear right here. You don't have to worry about the belt moving while you work on the motor, because they don't, on a D series, it can't move unless you start messing with it. So just mark a mark around here, and then you slide the cam up, slide the belt off, and you're good to start pulling the head off. We got 2 marks down here for extra security. We got a green one here and a red one here. So now all we're gonna do is tilt the cam up, slide the belt off, nice and easy. Shouldn't fight. And boom, cam is out. So next, you want to take the HVAC hose off, simple pliers, pull this off, that comes off. Drain your coolant out first before you start pulling hoses. We've already drained the coolant, so you're going to take your upper hose off, your HVAC hose. You're going to take this off, which should just pull off like that, and then your ECT, which is engine coolant temp sensor. It's also a good idea to replace this hose. I'll have the part number in the description. When you have a lot of D series, the O-ring leaks in the distributor, and then the oil leaks down and makes a hole in this hose, so it's good to replace it while you're here. Again, we already drained the coolant, so there's no coolant there to fall out. Alright, now that you got all your sensors off and your HVAC hose, you're going to go ahead and undo all your head bolts. It's like, what, 2, 4, 5, should be 10 of them. All these 14s got to come out. Using a 1/2-inch impact with a chrome socket. Obviously that's not ideal, but I'm a certified professional, so here we go. Alright, so when you pull the head off, realize, hey, there's a bracket back here holding the intake. So you're gonna have 2 12s. They're gonna be way back in here somewhere. I can only feel them, so take those 2 12s off, and then the whole head and intake should rock back and forth. That's how you know you're ready to pull everything off. Alright, so head's off. Let's pull it up. We already pulled the old gasket out, so what we're gonna do is make sure you have both dowel pins inside the head. One popped out when we pulled it off. So you should have one right there and one on that side. The gasket has 2 larger holes on the side that the dowel pins are, so you put it in that orientation, put it in, slide the gasket on, make sure you got it over both dowel pins, and then slowly set the head back on. Feel for the dowel pins. Try not to move it too much. Don't want to scratch the head. And it should pop right back on just like that. Certified, look at me.
Look at my seat.
All right, new gasket's on, head's seated. We're gonna put the head bolts back in, all 10 head bolts back in, torque those down. Also, before you put the head bolts back in, very important, make sure there is no oil inside of these holes. If you have oil inside of these holes and you go to torque down the head bolts, you could break them inside of the motor. Do not do that. Very simple. If you've got oil in there, get a little shop towel or microfiber or something with a screwdriver, go down there and dry it up. If you have a some sort of liquid vacuum that you could use that. Obviously that's ideal, but a screwdriver and a rag will work just as good. Just make sure you have no oil down these holes. Alright, so everything's snuck down. We got torque specs, torque sequence right here. First spec, you're going to start with 14 foot-pounds. We got a torque wrench set. Highest quality tools right here, Harbor Freight. You want to do one full sweep into your torque. 14 foot-pounds for Honda Tech. You're gonna follow your sequence. 14 pounds here. Click. 2. Click. Number 3, you're gonna come right here. 14 foot-pounds. 1 full motion, if possible. Go back, full sweep. 3, 4. You wanna go 1 motion till a click. That's 4. You're gonna go to 5 up here. Boom, 1 motion. 6 down here. Boom, tight. Up here 7. Top right corner. Boom, 7. 8, bottom left. Tight. Top left, 9. Tight. Bottom right.
That's what it says on this motherfucker?
10. Right. Second step is 36 foot-pounds. So we're going to readjust our latest and greatest technology here to 36 foot-pounds. So that is 30, 32, 34, 36 foot-pounds. You're going to follow the same torque sequence that we just did. So right now we are on the second step of torquing. This is 36 foot-pounds. Following the torque sequence. Boom, 36 foot-pounds all around.
49.
Final step is 49. If you have seen, it says 49 twice on the torque sequence. That is because when you're torquing bolts, they have a tendency to heat up while you're torquing them. So you allow them a couple minutes to cool off, and then you recheck your torque just to make sure you're actually at 49 and you weren't hitting any resistance while the bolts were heated up. All right, now we're gonna let these sit for about 5 minutes, and we're gonna recheck again at 49 foot-pounds just to make sure that we didn't have any extra resistance. All right, next step, we're gonna put the cam back in. I don't know if you remember, we marked this with red and green Sharpie right here. A green mark here, red mark here. So you're gonna angle this as so, and line your markings up with the belt. Check time. It's different.
Yeah, definitely been built.
Definitely been built. Oh, it's built. The way this thing rides, it's built. It's been built.
Built.
Yeah, it's been built. Definitely has. Oh, check time on this. Check time. It definitely has been built. This is different. What's the time on it? It's different. It's different.
The marks.
Yep.
Right there. Make sure your cam's sitting flat inside the guides, like that. Cam seal push back. You see right here, Our red mark is lined up with the red mark, and our green mark is lined up with the green mark. So we are back in time. So same thing with the head bolts, same thing with the cam cap bolts. You want to check all these holes right here because we're about to put the valve train back in. You want to check all these holes. This one's obviously full of oil. You got to make sure there's no oil in these, or you will snap a bolt in here. Actually, when I did a head gasket on my car, I snapped a bolt. So you don't be like me. Cleaning these out. As you see, there's oil and been oil in every single one. This little Harbor Freight pick, shop towel. Make sure you got no oil in there. See. That's all it takes for a bolt to snap. Then you're that's what you don't want. You will snap a bolt in that. Easy. Take another 10 foot-pounds, you're gonna snap the bolt. Seen it happen. Done it myself. That's one reason why I keep saying it. Bring it to me, I won't snap it. Pick your valve train back up. Cam side on the cam side. Pop them right back down. Should fall into place. Should. Alrighty, day 2. We're back. Realized we had to sleep last night, so cut it short, but we're getting the oh Lord, getting the O-rings out for the spark plug tubes. We're gonna be replacing those too, as well as a new valve cover gasket while we're at it. Next up, we're gonna be torquing down the valve train. Gotta look up the spec. I believe it's either 18 or 20 foot-pounds, so we're gonna look that up. Get the valve train torqued. Get the valve cover surface nice and clean here. Wipe this down. Should have brought some Honda Bond for that, but it'll be alright. And then just button everything up, really. Put the exhaust back on, hook the hoses up, put some coolant in here.
Yeah.
To pop the spark plug seals out, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get the screwdriver in on the back side of the actual seal here. You're just gonna give it a couple of taps so you're on the metal, twist it, just pop right out, just like that.
Wrap to you.
So the new ones, just gonna set them down. Make sure you got no debris in the holes or anything blocking it. These are okay. There's not too much in there, so just gonna place these on top here. On all 4, and you're basically just gonna get a small hammer, tap it easily. You gotta beat the crap out of it. Just get it till it's seated like that. 11, 12, 13, 14. Snap-on tech wrench. You'll get you one. It's about $350 on the truck. All right. So 14 foot-pounds.
$10 a fucking haul for free.
Well, all right. Well, we gotta have a $10 torque job. So here I am waiting for 14. Okay.
Heard a little son.
All right. So yep, 14 foot-pounds. I'm doing it in the same sequence as a cylinder head. You probably don't have to, but that's just how I'm doing it. Okay. So as I was saying,
No, for real.
get your surfaces clean, get your valve cover nice and clean, the gasket clean, get the head clean. Now, you are going to want Honda Bond for this, or some sort of RTV. So you're going to want to put a little bit of Honda Bond in these 2 corners right here. Also, these 2 corners, it doesn't hurt to put some along the edges as well. However, for this particular application, we don't really care, so we're not going to worry about that part. If it leaks, we'll put some on there. I'll slide this over. Sit down. And put your bolts in. All right, so for the last few steps, just going to pop your exhaust back on. Boom, put all the 12s back on. We're keeping the timing cover off, just a personal decision. We had such severe case of a failed head gasket here that there was actually no coolant in the cylinder. So we're going to take a funnel and add some coolant into the actual sleeves of the motor first before we even mess with the radiator. That way we know there's coolant in there when we start it. And when we bleed the coolant system, a whole pocket of air won't shoot out of the radiator when it starts to finally work its way to the top of the system. So we're gonna do that. In the meantime, I'm gonna put the distributor back in. You need to clock these prongs up with the end of the camshaft inside of the motor. There we go. All right. Alright, when we first finished this car, the valves were going crazy. So, came back today, a week later, did a valve adjustment. She's purring minus the header crack, but it's back. About to take it for a drive.